All right, welcome to another deep dive, everyone. I am absolutely buzzing about this one. Match day 27 in the Premier League. You guys absolutely flooded us with articles about this. Honestly, even I'm still just trying to wrap my head around some of these results. So we try to break it all down, all the tactics, all the upsets, the individual brilliance that had everyone talking. This is going to be your cheat sheet for.
Yeah.
It's not like you know what you're talking about at the pub next time you're watching a match. Trust me, there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
This wasn't just another weekend of football. This was a weekend where it felt like the script was flipped. You know, you had the underdogs coming out swinging, and even the top teams had a scrap for every single inch. Well, let's start off with Brighton's win over Bournemouth. 2-1 the final score. On paper, Bournemouth dominated, possession shots.
Yeah.
So how did Brighton manage to pull this off?
Well, that's the thing about football, right? It's not always about who controls the ball. It's about what you do when you have it. Brighton were incredibly disciplined tactically. They absorbed all that pressure and waited for the right moment, and then bam! They hit them on the counterattack. They scored a header from a corner, even had like a ridiculous solo goal,
Yeah.
They made those few chances count, and that's what matters.
It really does feel like they were playing chess out there, just waiting for the perfect opening. Speaking of surprising wins, Crystal Palace absolutely crushed Aston Villa 4-1. Birthday boy is Mela Sarr bagging himself a brace. So was it all about Sarr, or was there something more to Palace's dominance?
Yeah, you got to give Sarr credit. He was phenomenal. But
Right.
Palace as a whole, they were just clinical. They were organized. They punished every mistake Villa made. And, there's another layer here. Villa had 2 goals disallowed for offside. Just imagine if those had counted. Could have been a whole different game.
I know, right? Huge what-if moment for the Villa fans. So this win bumps Palace up to 12th in the table. Villa's Champions League hopes maybe fading a bit now. But, although I have another upset to talk about, Fulham beat Wolves 2-1. And yet again, Wolves had more of the possession, more shots on target. So how did Fulham pull it off?
Fulham gave us a masterclass in counterattacking football. Just so compact, defensively frustrating Wolves at every turn. And then, boom, unleashing those rapid counterattacks. Wolves got their goal with a beautiful shot from open play. But Fulham equalized with a set piece, and then that winning goal, just a perfectly executed counter.
Patience, discipline, picking their moments. So this moves Fulham up to 9th. Pretty impressive, right? Wolves, though, a missed opportunity to pull further away from that relegation zone. Now let's talk about a game where the scoreline really says it all. Chelsea absolutely dismantled Southampton 4-0. This wasn't just a win. This was a statement.
Yeah, they were completely dominant. Just phenomenal. Their tactical setup was fascinating to watch. They just flooded the midfield. Sancho and Nkunku running riot on the wings. Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer dictating the tempo in the middle. And Pedro Neto up top, just finishing those chances with style. It was attacking football at its finest.
Makes you wonder what Southampton's game plan even was.
Yeah.
Chelsea just gave them no room to breathe at all.
Yeah, this win really solidifies their spot as one of the top contenders this year.
All right, now let's move on to a match that was a bit more of a nail-biter. Manchester United against Ipswich Town. It ended 3-2, and from what I've read, it was a wild one.
Oh, yeah. Anytime you got Manchester United involved, there's going to be drama.
For sure.
Yeah.
So talk us through those 5 goals. How did this one unfold?
Well, it was back and forth all game. Tons of attacking intent, but also some, shall we say, questionable defending at times. Ipswich actually took the lead early, caught United off guard. But then Bruno Fernandes, he stepped up big time. His set-piece deliveries were just phenomenal. One leading to an own goal by Ipswich's captain, and then later, Harry Maguire headed in the winner from another Fernandes free kick.
So a real roller coaster ride for the fans, huh? Sounds like set pieces were the deciding factor in this one.
They really were. But we also got to give some love to Jadon Philogene from Ipswich. He scored both their goals, showed some serious individual skill, even in defeat. And for United, this win was huge. It snapped their 3-game winless streak, which was starting to make their fans a little bit nervous.
I bet relief at Old Trafford, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Brentford versus Everton now. This one finished as a 1-1 draw, but sounds like it could have gone either way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This one was just full of missed opportunities on both sides. Brentford took the lead right before halftime. Yohan Wissa, the quickest to react to a rebound off the crossbar. But then Everton, with Moyes back in charge, they battled back, and Jake O'Brien scored with a header to equalize.
So both sides showed some real grit and determination there. Any standout individual performances from this one?
Oh, absolutely. Brentford's goalkeeper, Mark Flecken, had an outstanding game, made some absolutely spectacular saves. On the other hand, you got Everton striker Beto. He's going to be having nightmares about this one. Had like 3 one-on-ones with the keeper and just couldn't find the back of the net. Talk about frustrating.
It happens to the best of them. This draw extends Everton's unbeaten run to 7 games under Moyes, though, which is pretty impressive. Brentford, on the other hand, continuing to struggle at home.
Yeah, that's something they'll definitely want to address moving forward.
Now let's shift gears to a match that was maybe more about tactical nuance than goals. Nottingham Forest held Arsenal to a 0-0 draw. A real chess match, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. Sometimes the most exciting games are the ones where there's few goals. You can really appreciate the tactical battle unfolding,
You really can. It's like watching 2 grandmasters going head-to-head.
Exactly. Arsenal dominated possession. They created more chances, but they just could not break down that Forest defense. Super well organized back there. Ricardo Calafiori hit the post for Arsenal, and Mikel Merino had a fantastic header saved by the Forest keeper. Ultimately, though, they were just lacking that cutting edge up front.
Frustrating day for Arsenal, I'm sure, but a valuable point for Forest.
Absolutely. This result is a blow to Arsenal's title. Hopes are now 13 points behind the leaders Liverpool. For Nottingham Forest, it's a massive point, in their push for a Champions League spot, which I don't think anyone would have predicted at the start of the season.
Now let's talk about the team at the top, the team that just keeps on winning. Liverpool cruised past Newcastle with a 2-0 victory. Who were the key players in this win?
Well, Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister got the goals, and they were both just instrumental throughout the match. Szoboszlai brought his usual energy, and McAllister he was consistently brilliant as always, Pulled the strings in midfield, 61% possession for Liverpool, 12 shots. Just total control. Newcastle really struggled to create any real danger.
Another dominant performance from the league leaders. Hard to see anyone catching them at this point.
They're playing with so much confidence and fluidity. This win stretches their lead at the top to a commanding 13 points now. I think it's safe to say they're the clear favorites for the title.
Okay, so let's wrap up part 1 with West Ham's 2-0 victory over Leicester. What were the key takeaways from this one?
Well, this match was really all about West Ham's defensive solidity and their ability to just capitalize on their opponent's mistakes. Tomas Suchek got the first goal, pouncing on a really poor clearance from Leicester. And then just before halftime, Jared Bowen's shot took a wicked deflection off Yannick Vestergaard for an own goal.
Yep. So a little bit of luck involved, but West Ham definitely in the right place at the right time.
For sure, Leicester tried to fight back in the second half. But that West Ham defense was like a brick wall, This loss keeps Leicester deep in the relegation zone, 5 points from safety now, and the pressure is mounting on their manager, Ruud van Nistelrooy.
You really got a feel for him. But that's the Premier League for you. Ruthless and unpredictable. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to dissect even more of the action from Matchday 27. Stay tuned.
Yeah, it really does feel like we're seeing a shift in the Premier League this season. So many teams just prioritizing that defensive solidity, and, it's working.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've seen it with Brighton, Fulham, even West Ham. Teams that might not always have the majority of possession, but they're so well organized at the back, and then when they get their chance, they're clinical. It's like a reminder that you don't always have to be flashy to win football matches.
Yeah, it's that old saying, right defense wins championships. But, this match day wasn't just about tactics. There were some real moments of individual brilliance, too.
Oh, for sure. What surprised you the most?
Honestly, probably Crystal Palace just dismantling Aston Villa like that. I don't think anyone saw that coming. Really shows you just how unpredictable this league can be. And that's what makes it so great to watch,
You never know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
1 minute a team's flying high, the next they're brought right back down to earth. This match day has definitely shaken things up in the table. You've got the race for the Champions League spots is tighter than ever. And that relegation battle is a real nail-biter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No one can afford to relax at this point. Every point is precious. Every match is a battle.
So we've talked about the individual matches, but what are some of the bigger themes emerging from this match day? What are the talking points that the fans are going to be debating all week?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was the importance of set pieces. We saw a handful of crucial goals scored from corners, free kicks, really highlights how vital it is for teams to be strong in both attack and defense during those moments.
Yeah, those Bruno Fernandes deliveries for those United goals were pinpoint, but almost like they've been practicing those routines all week just for this match. So apart from set pieces, what else caught your eye?
I'd say the impact of individual brilliance. We already mentioned Ismail Assar, 2 goals on his birthday, amazing. But also Jaden Philogene for Ipswich. Those 2 goals were something special, even though his team ended up losing. And then you've got Dominic Szoboszlai. He's really starting to blossom for Liverpool. These moments of magic, they can just change the course of a game in an instant.
They really can, and those are the moments that fans remember. It's not always about the tactics. Sometimes it's about those flashes of brilliance
Yeah.
that just take your breath away.
Hmm.
But, while we're praising the attackers, we can't forget about the guys at the back.
Oh, absolutely. Mark Flecken was phenomenal for Brentford. And that West Ham defensive pairing of Krut Zuma and Naif Aguerd. They were like a wall, just completely shut down Leicester's attack.
Yeah, it's like they were reading each other's minds back there, anticipating every move, making those crucial tackles, just organizing that defense with real authority. That kind of partnership is what makes a team so tough to break down.
Speaking of partnerships, I think it's worth mentioning the impact of managerial changes this season. Everton bringing back David Moyes, for example, it's clearly had a positive effect on the team.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they've gone from struggling at the bottom to a 7-game unbeaten run. You can't argue with those results. Seems like the players have really responded to Moyes' return.
They have. It shows you the importance of having a manager who understands the club, someone who can instill that belief and confidence in the squad.
Absolutely. And then you have the flip side of that with Leicester City and Ruud van Nistelrooy. They're stuck in the relegation zone, and that pressure's mounting.
It's a tough spot for any manager to be in, You can see that the players are trying, but those results just aren't coming. You have to wonder how long he'll have to turn things around.
It's a results business, isn't it? And the Premier League is ruthless. If things don't improve quickly, a change could be inevitable.
For sure. Now, I think we got to talk about VAR.
Ah, yes. VAR wouldn't be a Premier League weekend without some VAR controversy. This match day, we saw a couple of goals, disallowed penalties given after video review. And as always, it's dividing opinion.
It is. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's definitely changed the game, but whether it's for the better or worse, well, that's still up for debate.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you want the decisions to be right, but sometimes it feels like VAR just disrupts the flow of the game. Like that spontaneous joy of celebrating a goal is kind of lost while everyone's waiting for the VAR check.
Yeah, it's a complex issue. No easy answers. It's here to stay, though, so we have to learn to live with it, even if it means accepting the occasional frustration. But hey, maybe that's just part of what makes the Premier League so exciting.
Maybe you're right. So let's talk about some more of those standout player performances. We've already mentioned Sarr and Philogene. But who else impressed you this weekend?
Well, I have to give a shout out to Szoboszlai again. He's just becoming such a key player for Liverpool, and his partnership with McAllister in midfield is looking really dangerous.
Yeah, they seem to have that telepathic connection, always knowing where the other one's going to be. And speaking of dangerous partnerships, that West Ham defensive duo, Zuma and Aguerd, they were just immense.
Absolutely, a rock at the back, just shutting down everything Leicester threw at them. You can see they've built such a strong understanding, which is so important for defensive solidity.
Makes you wonder if they could be contenders for a top-half finish, if they can keep up that defensive form.
For sure. All right, so after this deep dive into Matchday 27, what do you think is the biggest takeaway for you?
For me, it's adaptability. We saw it time and time again this weekend. It wasn't just about who had the best players. It was about who could adjust their game plan. Like Brighton's counterattacking strategy against Bournemouth. I think it's a reminder that we can't just look at the league table. We need to look at each team's tactical flexibility, to see who has the potential to really shake things up.
That's a great point. I think that's something for everyone to keep in mind as we head into the final stretch of the season.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dives, everyone. We'll be back next week to break down even more Premier League action. Until then, keep your eyes on the ball and enjoy the beautiful game.
Yeah, it's like they've just unlocked this new level of understanding, and it's making them a real force to be reckoned with.
It really is. It's amazing how, a few tactical tweaks can just completely change a team's trajectory. Like we saw with Everton as well. David Moyes comes back in, and suddenly they haven't lost a match since.
Yeah, I mean, Moyes just knows that club inside and out. He's brought back that structure, that belief, and it's showing on the pitch. It's a great example of how the right manager can just make all the difference.
It makes you think about those teams struggling near the bottom, Could a managerial change be the spark they need to turn things around?
It's definitely a possibility sometimes. All it takes is a fresh perspective, a new voice in the dressing room to kind of reignite that fire.
So as we head into the final stretch of the season,
Yeah.
What are you watching for? What are the storylines that have you on the edge of your seat?
Well, the title race is far from over, even with Liverpool's lead. I mean, there's still a lot of football to be played. And let's not forget about the battle for those Champions League spots. It's going to be a real dogfight right down to the wire.
Absolutely. And then you got those teams fighting to avoid relegation. Every point is crucial for them. This is where those tactical masterclasses and those moments of individual brilliance really come into play.
For sure. And that's what makes the Premier League so great, Every match has the potential for drama, for upsets, for those moments that just leave you speechless.
So to all our listeners out there, we want to hear from you. What are your bold predictions for the rest of the season? Which teams do you think are going to surprise us? And what tactical trends are you noticing?
Yeah, share your thoughts on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. We're always eager to hear your perspectives.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, everyone. We'll be back next week to break down even more Premier League action. Until then, keep your eyes on the ball and enjoy the beautiful game.